Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good to yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Looking forward to talking some films. Thoroughly enjoyed Chinatown.
Yeah.
Last time. Fire alarm went off halfway through that episode.
Yeah.
And I didn't write the time code down at the time because I was just like, yeah, we'll just, it'll be fine. Do you think I could fucking find that point? It took me fucking ages. I might as well have just listened to the whole goddamn thing by the time I'd found it. Because I was like, normally I'm like, oh, I'll find it in the waveform. I could not.
It was quite near the end, wasn't it?
It was relatively near the end, but my god, I spent ages trying to find it. I might as well have just listened to the whole bloody show and then found it. But anyway.
I forgot to mention something about Jack Nicholson as well when we were talking about that.
Mm.
While he just after he'd finished filming that, a journalist found out that the person who he thought was his sister was actually his mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So sort of not exactly quite the same as the situation in the thing, but a very odd family situation.
A very yes, a life imitating art in a way. Yes.
Yeah.
An odd situation to be sure. Anyway, we're back to our usual review fare today. Would you like to kick us off with a movie, Matt?
Yeah, sure. I'll start us off with Extraction 2.
Extraction 2, starring the big Hemsworth.
Yeah, Mr. Beefy himself.
Well, I meant the greater Hemsworth is what I should say.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes,
because there is a lesser Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Poor Liam. I'm sorry. Liam's all right, actually. He's a pretty good actor. I shit on him all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
he's pretty good.
Unfortunately, I cannot see him as Geralt.
Oh, I'm not even bothering to watch season 3, so I don't care.
Oh, no, it dropped this week, didn't it? It dropped the other day. And
I didn't even realise. Someone said, they were like, oh, Witcher 3. I was like, oh, God, I forgot that was even out. But
yeah. I don't think I'll bother with that, thank you.
No, I'm good.
Second season was fucking almost intolerable at times.
Yeah, season 2 was not great. So, well, I mean, I liked it for the most part, but there was a lot of things. I think there were more things that annoyed me in the second than in the first.
There was some great stuff in it. I mean, the Roach speech obviously was one of the highlights, which is a weird
ironic
thing to say. But
well, ironic given that the studio tried to remove that part, made it into a joke, and it was actually good old Henry Cavill that actually stepped in and said, "No, I think Geralt's kind of attached to Roach, kind of likes him a bit."
Yeah, remember he's toxic and he's just a miserable person.
Yeah, well, he plays the video games, Matt.
Yeah,
clearly.
What a bastard.
And he likes Warhammer. What an asshole. Anyway, one thing
going back to Extraction 2.
One thing that we all agreed on, or by all I mean the two people present on this podcast, is that we really thoroughly enjoyed Extraction.
It was a really enjoyable movie. It was really good.
It was, and from what I've heard,
and a genuine surprise actually as well, because I think it's come out at a time where there was a number of sort of action movies on Netflix and
disappointing action movies,
which all were a bit sort of okay at parts and fine. But this one was that knife fight scene in the street was fucking amazing. Incredible.
And the thing is, I think to your point as well, the trailer for Extraction was not that strong either.
No.
It was one of those where it's like, oh, well, I guess I'll watch it because Chris Hemsworth, starring in this action vehicle. But from what I hear, and you can attest to this now, I guess, confirm or deny, I hear Extraction 2 might actually be better. So, curious.
Well, I've thought about that.
It's obviously close then, the fact that you've had to think about it.
I'll say at the end, but so basically this picks up almost exactly where the first one ends, with him getting gunned down and falling off the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a team find him washed up on the river and pull him back. And Nikki, his sort of partner, she basically takes him to a hospital, I think in Switzerland,
Mm-hmm.
And she basically just watches over him, and months pass and he's not moving, or he's just in the hospital, and her brother says, maybe we should just give up on him, maybe you should just let him go, and she's like, fuck no, absolutely not. And eventually, of course, he wakes up, and initially he's like, you should have just let me die, it's kind of over, and she's like, fuck no. It's like, you would have done the same for me, so I've done it for you. And he's agrees, and he gets taken to this. She takes him to this cabin and says, he says, what am I supposed to do here? It's like, figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. And he's got this cabin, and he's got his dog, and it's like it must be on like Lake Geneva or something like that. It's like frozen and really cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he gets some chickens, and he watches Aussie rules football. And he's sort of generally pottering around this cottage, and Idris Elba turns up.
Okay.
Which obviously isn't a surprise, because I think he does appear I think he's in the trailer. Incredibly briefly, he is not in it very long, which is fine, I guess. And maybe they didn't want him to overshadow Hemsworth or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they? Netflix were footing the bill for the Luther movie, right? So
Yes.
maybe he was they had him around, and they're like, "Oh, could you just,
Well,
we bug you a couple of quid."
Yeah, there was a brief moment where I thought, is he Luther? And then he was a bit too funny, so it was like, no, he's not Luther. He's not Luther. He's not the same sense of humor as Luther. So no, it's definitely not either. Basically, he says to him, "Got a job for you. Fewer skills, but you look like you can't do shit."
I was going to say, like, what kind of physical condition is this man in?
His arm's still in a sling, and he's sort of limping a little, and he's like, you look like you can't pull the trigger. And he basically
he needs to do an acupuncture scene like Steven Seagal in that.
Yeah.
Is it Marked for Death? Is that the one? No, not Marked for Death. Marked for Death's the racist one. I always get them confused.
Oh, bloody hell. It's been such a long time since I've seen any.
The one when he's the one when he's in a coma for years, and then he just wheels himself out of hospital and then does acupuncture and he's fine.
Is that Hard to Kill?
Oh, Hard to Kill. That's the one. Yes, not Marked for Death. Hard to Kill.
Because that's got what's her bloody name? The English model who was in
yes.
Weird Science.
Yeah, we're getting off topic, but
we are.
So okay, training montage. I'm assuming
you do get a training montage. Yes, he does.
It feels like the kind of movie where you'd have a training montage. That's fine.
Basically, he says to him that it's who's got this mission for him, and it's I'm not sure they tell you at that point. I think they might tell you later, because they keep it very vague about what's going on and his relationship to what this mission is. So yeah, you do get a push-ups and running around. And,
excellent, moving some logs and.
It's only a small one, but you do get it. He obviously wants to make himself stronger again. And he basically gets in contact with Nikki and says, "Oh, we've got a job." And she's like, "Okay, I thought you would retire." And he's like, "No, this one's, this one is." And
you told me to figure out what I want to do the rest of my life. I want to murder people.
I want to, yeah, basically. So the job is, you basically get introduced to the bad guys of the movie, which are two Georgian gangsters, a family of Georgian gangsters,
right?
Who I can't remember what it is they call themselves, but I think it translates to shepherds. They've got this religious thing. They think that God has told them to be shepherds for their I think it's to do with the war before and how they survived and brought themselves up, sort of thing. And one of them's in prison for chucking I think it was a DEA agent off a roof. So he's in prison, and the other one's outside. And the one in prison has his wife and children in there with him. And the other brother on the outside has been told that his brother's sentence has been increased by 10 years. To which he kills the politician that basically tells him, in quite a brutal fashion, that it's like you could see him. the way that it was set up is like, oh, one of our prize bulls has died, and we're basically digging a grave for it. And he's talking to this guy, and you think, no, that dude's clearly going in that grave. There's no, but when the actual killing blow does come, it's like, oh, I didn't expect it to go that way. Okay, fine. It's like, fuck me, that was a bit brutal. So basically, Tyler's been hired to go break into the prison and get out the wife and the 2 children.
Right.
Because the wife doesn't want to be in there. She doesn't want to bring her children up in this fucking awful prison.
Mm.
But obviously, the husband isn't going to let her leave.
Sure.
So, they go in, shit happens, and I'm not going to spoil.
No, that's fair enough.
What happens? But there is a 20-minute single take.
Is it genuinely single take?
In the prison, which is fucking awesome.
Is it genuinely single take?
I think so.
That's amazing. I mean, it doesn't.
Sure.
I don't know how much it matters. If you faked it well enough that I can't tell, doesn't really matter. But it is always impressive when they actually do it for real.
Yeah, I think if it's not a complete one, it's pretty much complete. As far as I'm aware, it is complete, but it's really fucking good. And wow, the action set pieces on there's like one on a train. There's one in this skyscraper. They are really fucking good.
Mm.
And the team that they've got on this movie are outstanding. They are really, really good. The villains are pretty good. There's a nice sort of thing with the family. I'm not going to spoil why. When you find out why he's gone into this thing at all. What his connection is. There is a connection why he's doing it, and I won't spoil that. But there is the tension between the son, there's a boy and a girl, and the girl's quite little, so she's not really aware, I guess, of the bigger picture. But the boy,
sure,
he's confused why his mother is taking him away from his father, and he has sort of conflicting feelings about his mother and his father. It's like, why are you taking me away from my dad? This is weird. I should be part of this, this family, this shepherds or whatever it is they're called. And it's quite a nice dynamic. It doesn't have the same feel that the boy in the first movie does. The relationship between those two in is much more intimate because it's just those two for most of the movie, isn't it? And they were together, sorting them, running and hiding and all that sort of stuff. So it's not quite as good as that. But the relationship between Nikki and Yaz, his sort of partners. I'm going to ruin her name, I'm afraid. Golshift Farhani and Adam Bassa. They are really good. She in particular gets a lot more to do in this movie, and I'm really happy because her character is brilliant. She's good. She gets some great little moments. Particularly there's a great scene on the train. I'm trying to decide whether I liked it more than the first one.
The fact that you even have to think about it, kind of suggests how strong this movie is. Because I really loved the first one. So if you're like, oh, I'm not sure if this one's better than the first one or not, then I'm sold.
Yeah, it's if it's not better, it's certainly not worse, and I would say it's on a par with the first one.
Well, that's great news. That's great news. I really enjoyed the first, and if they, make more.
Yeah. I think they've already greenlit a third one.
Because this is the is this the Russos?
Yeah. Well, I think one of them wrote it. Yes. And It's directed by Sam Hargreaves.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
who I think did stunt work on. Yeah, he does a lot of stunt work on. So yeah, he's done stunt work on Avengers Endgame, Atomic Blonde.
Yeah, he knows his stuff.
So yeah, he's obviously worked with them. My guess is he probably works with the Russos quite a bit.
Yeah. Great.
Oh, he's an actor too. So yeah, it's just another really good, top-notch action movie. I would put it ahead of most of the action movies I've seen in recent years. It's really fucking good.
Excellent.
It's right up there with the best of Cruise and
up there with John Wick and all of those.
John Wick, and yeah, I mean,
it's a different kind of movie. But...
It's a different, it's not quite as stylized as Wick, but there are still moments where you go, well, he's fucking dead. He's not getting up from that.
Yeah,
but it's an action movie, so of course he's gonna get away with certain stuff. It's not quite John Wick 4 levels of
silly. Yeah.
How does he keep walking? But it's an action movie, so you have to go with it somewhat. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. It's just a thoroughly good, well done action movie.
Excellent.
And yeah, brilliant villains, brilliant supporting cast, and Hemsworth just he's so charming and good to watch.
Yeah.
That you're willing to go with it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, what shall I do first? I watched A Man Called Otto. Tom Hanks movie. And it's a very Tom Hanks movie.
It's a remake of A Man Called Otto, isn't it?
It is, which I've never seen.
No, I haven't seen either.
I've not seen the original, so I can't comment on whether it's better than the original. This version, it feels like a much nicer, family-friendly version of Gran Torino. Like, yes, super family-friendly version of Gran Torino. Kind of. Kind of. I mean, there's
Tom Hanks isn't threatening people with a rifle and telling them to get the fuck off his lawn.
No, I mean he does. But there are quite a few parallels through the film. Yeah. Like he loves his cars. He gives a car to a kid. He adopts a pet. In this case, is a cat. But
is as cool as a Torino though?
No. No. I mean, but right. I mean, if we're gonna get into that, let's be honest. Tom Hanks isn't as cool as Clint Eastwood, so you're already on a losing battle for the fact that you had Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. This is to be honest, it's a very different movie, but it has enough similarities that you can't help but draw those parallels.
It's an older guy on his own
a bitter old man, lost his family. Lives on his own. I think he's 63, and he lives in this in Pittsburgh, I think, and he's got this house on this street. It's like a gated off street, and he's basically a job's worth to the council and to everyone in the street. He the movie kind of opens with him shouting at people for parking in the wrong parking spot and not closing the gate when they leave and all of that kind of stuff. And he does rounds, so he does like his rounds around the street, so he's like everything must be just so, and if anyone steps out of line he moans at them. One of those types of people. This family, pregnant lady, move in across the street, and basically It all kind of the story. They're gonna melt his heart, and that's the movie. This movie feels like, honestly, it feels like it should be a Hallmark or faith based movie. That's the best way, and it's not a faith movie per se. Really, it just has that feel about it. The way it's written, the way the characters are. The general tone, it feels like one of those I could be watching this. Yeah, kinda. I was honestly like I would say for the first 10 minutes I was gonna turn it off. Because of that, and that tone, and it's all very sanitized and super, like, for the first 10 minutes you kind of feel like, okay, this is not going to have any real kind of serious narrative. It's just going to be this grumpy old man, and then he's just going to become friends with people in the neighborhood, and that'll be the end of the movie, really. But 10 minutes in, we see, and I won't go any further with, this is a minor spoiler, it's probably even in the trailer for all I know. About 10 minutes in, Otto tries to hang himself. And at that point, I was like, oh, okay, there is more to this movie than just cynical old man, having his heart melted by, pregnant lady and family across the street and whatnot. So it kind of progresses from there. And there's this ongoing situation where he is... So his wife has died, and he's determined to just join her. He's had enough. He's going to join her. And then the movie kind of, like, at one point just before he hangs himself, he's like cancels the electricity, and he cancels his phone, and he disconnects his phone and everything. He's like canceling everything off. He's like, I don't need gas. I don't need this anymore. I don't need that anymore. Cut it all off. Shut it all off. And he's like puts down newspaper on the floor to hang himself. He's very house proud and whatever. And the kind of conceit going forward from that point is that he's regularly trying to kill himself when someone in the street needs his help, or someone knocks on the door or interrupts him, or there's a reason why he needs to continue living. Overall, I liked the story quite a bit. It was heartwarming, as you would expect. He's grumpy, but he obviously cares about people, and he helps people despite being quite bitter and grumpy, and by the end he's gone from being he's turned his powers of Jobsworth into being like this pillar of his community, and he helps an old friend that he'd fallen out with, and it's all very heartwarming. There are some kind of, I don't know, it kind of throws a little too much at in the movie, I think, to be honest. At one point he becomes like an internet sensation, because he saves someone who falls in front of a train, and then he saves like this friend he like basically saves from being moved out. It all gets kind of like, there's too much going on, and then there's also flashbacks. So there's also flashbacks to when he first met his wife. Now the flashbacks I kind of liked. It just felt like you could have lost, certainly the social media influencer thing, I would have dropped that storyline entirely. He adopts a trans guy, and that storyline's pretty cool. I liked that. He kind of, that's where we're starting to see, actually he is a nice guy. He's not such a bitter asshole all the time. I really liked Marisol, I think her name is, who is the pregnant lady. She's really, really irritating, in kind of a good way. She's really irritating to him. Like, she keeps talking at him all the time, and you can see he just doesn't want anything to do with it. But she brings food around. Another crossover with Gran Torino is the food thing, where he loves the food, and I think she is Mexican. Is she Mexican? I'm not sure.
Marisol sounds very Mexican.
Yeah. So she's bringing, Mexican food and all sorts of things over, and he loves all of that. And overall, I liked the movie. Thought it was good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Like I said, it's just very yes. I think that's the best word for it. Yeah. And that's not necessarily
I was going to say, which isn't a bad thing.
No.
It can be very enjoyable.
I think this movie succeeds. Certainly, I would stick with it, because at the beginning I was like, no, I don't know if I can be bothered with this. By the end, I liked all the characters, like everybody on the street, because you kind of meet everybody that's on this little street, and they're all really interesting characters as you go on, and they all have reasonably interesting backstories and interpersonal relationships that kind of make the whole thing work.
Yeah.
Like even this jackass at the start who you're like, oh god, he's just annoying insert guy who you would see in a Hallmark movie. Comedy relief guy.
Yeah.
You know, you actually learn about him and you learn his relationships with other people in the street, and that all makes sense. I don't think the oh yes, no, actually, I take it back. I was going to say I didn't think the transgender person was actually part of the street, and he's not part of the street, but his Otto's wife was a school teacher. She taught him and was the first person to accept him as male and just, you know, kind of be fine with it. So that's how he, because at the start he's kind of moaning at him for parking his bike in the wrong place, and then later when he discovers that his ex-wife because she's dead, Sonia, because Sonia basically supported him through the transition and all of that, they have that connection, and then he kind of softens up to him. So it's fine. Like I said, it really feels like Gran Torino without the teeth.
Yeah.
And it feels like at times it really feels like it should be a faith movie, you know, like a faith-based movie. I mean, there is literally a scene where he's about to kill himself and he sees a vision of his wife telling him that he must live, you know, like it's super oh, and there's and like for the Hallmark moments, I will just say this because this scene, there is literally a scene in this movie where he's basically had a heart attack and he's in hospital, and the doctors literally say to someone, his heart's just too big.
Oh no.
Yeah. So just be prepared for a few moments like that. But it's a heartwarming story overall. It was fine. I watched it yesterday with a bottle of wine. Yeah, it was all right. You know,
I think when the original,
I don't know if I wasn't at the end of the bottle of wine by the end of the movie, I might have changed my opinion. But I went with it and I was emotionally invested. Whether that was due to the wine or whether I don't know, but I enjoyed it. It was fine. You know.
When the original came out, I know it got a lot of praise, and there was a lot of buzz about the original.
I will probably give the original a go now.
Yeah, I sort of thought maybe I'd give it a go, and then when I saw that the remake came out, I thought that's you know, most of those sort of remakes of foreign movies,
they never do it justice.
Don't do, yeah. There's always, you know,
no.
But so I thought I was going to give that one a miss, but I thought no, maybe I'll make more of an effort to watch the original. But I just haven't got round to either, so. Yeah, maybe I'll give this a go.
It's worth a watch. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's definitely a Tom Hanks movie.
It's always bloody watchable.
I was going to say, and it's definitely a Tom Hanks movie. You know, it's got the Tom Hanks feels. So
it's actually really funny. I was watching some. I think
it's very hard to dislike Tom Hanks.
Yes,
like even when Otto's trying. That's half the movie's problem, to be honest. When he's trying to be an asshole, it's like, but you're Tom Hanks.
Well, I was watching something the other day and they were talking about Tom Hanks, and I think modern audiences don't realise that Tom Hanks had a massive comedy period in the 80s.
Yeah.
They don't see him as a comedy actor.
I guess people aren't old enough to realise.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? Because to me, he's, you know,
he's big and stuff, you know.
Big and, yeah, exactly, and stuff like that. And I guess his last big comedy role was probably... League of Their Own. It's pretty. I mean, it's not exactly comedic, but he's pretty comedic in it.
I'm gonna have a look. Tom Hanks movies. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm trying to think.
That was the last one I remember his character being overly
funny. Yeah, I mean, he's been in kind of funny-ish movies, but in terms of straight comedy, you're probably right. He's become one of those really solid actors that, you know, tends to do the more serious stuff these days. I guess Toy Story, you could argue.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of funny that people don't see him as that, because, you know, back in the day, I'm very much used to thinking of him as that. You know,
Money Pit and, you know, Bachelor Party.
Yeah. I mean, Turner and Hooch, you could argue. I mean, it's got some serious, moments, but it's an action comedy for sure.
Yeah.
And like I said, big, obviously.
I still haven't. I do want to see Elvis at some point.
I have that. I keep meaning to watch that.
But I've heard his Colonel Tom Parker is terrible.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
I actually had quite a lot of high hopes for that movie. But yeah. But anyway, A Man Called Otto, worth a watch, I reckon. It was good fun.
Good.
So, what else have you watched?
Number of months back, I discovered that they were remaking Ikaru.
Yes.
And I basically expressed the thought that why the hell would you remake Ikaru? It's an almost perfect movie.
Yeah. That wouldn't stop them though.
No, of course not. And I thought, well, I'm not going to bloody touch that with a barge pole. And the other day, it's on Amazon. So Living is the name of the remake. And the other day it was on Amazon, and I thought, right, I'll look into it a bit. And it's Bill Nye, and I bloody love Bill Nye. He's fucking awesome.
We all do.
But it's adapted by Kazuo Shigeru, who did Remain to the Day, and I thought, well, I guess if you're gonna have someone to adapt Ikaru into a British movie,
yeah, it's a good choice.
It's a damn good choice. So I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a go. It's like I said, it's Bill Nye. So set in 50s London, you've got this Mr. Williams, who is he works in bureau. He's a bureaucrat in the works department. Is it for? I think it's works, which is like roads and all that sort of all that sort of stuff. And he basically there's a new starter who comes in, and at the beginning they're on the sort of he meets up with a bunch of others that he's working for on the train station, and they're all talking, and the guy said he's a little jolly, and the guy says we don't really speak on the train station here. It's just not done sort of thing. And it's that whole sort of bowler hat and suit guys from the 50s.
Yeah.
I think by the time we were children, they'd all gone by then. But you used to see them in things like Monty Python used to take the mick out of them all the time. Ministry of Silly Walks is blatantly that type of
yes, absolutely
bureaucrat.
Yeah.
So they're waiting for him on the train, and he's like, oh, the boss is coming up at the next stop, and he's like, oh, will you get in with us? He's like, no, he's not going to travel with us. So you get to the office. There's everybody sort of sat there with their piles of papers, and Williams is basically head down, doesn't really speak to them very much, and this paper comes in, and it's these ladies. There's a bomb site on their road, and they want it changed. They want it taken down and taken away, and they want a park put in. And they've been to these offices countless times, and each time they're there, a different fucking department sends them to a different department, and they still keep coming. So they get this note, and Mr. Williams says, "Well, why have we got it? It should be this is for the parks department, surely." And he says, "Well, the parks says it's works department, so they've sent it up to us." So he sends the new guy with these ladies down to parks, and parks does the same thing. Parks says, "Well, why is this come back to us? This is not ours at all." Oh, and these poor ladies, they're getting very frustrated, and this guy, he's new to the thing, and he's like has no idea what the fuck's going on. So they go back up to Mr. Williams, and Mr. Williams says, "Okay, well, I'll just keep it over here, and we'll keep it safe for them," and that's it. Again, it shows you going around, the big setup for the bureaucracy of this fucking circles and circles and circles. Anyway, Mr. Williams, as he's going home early, he goes to the doctor's, and the doctor says, you've basically got 6 months, maybe 9 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Cancer of the stomach, and basically, from there, you see him dealing with it and coming to the realization that he hasn't really done anything with his life. He's, his wife's dead. He has a son who has a wife that lives with them, who basically are kind of only interested in the money that, I think the mother left.
Right.
And they don't really talk. And he's trying to sort of get the courage up to tell his son that he's dying, but he can't. And there's a woman at the office, Margaret, Miss Harris, played by Amy Lee Wood, who has this vivacious quality. She seems to have this, lust for life sort of thing. And he sort of becomes a little fascinated with her, because he wants to understand how she lives. How do you see?
Sure.
What is it? And there's he goes to, he meets this well, I won't tell that bit, but he basically meets this writer who this writer says to him, why don't you come out with me for the night, and I'll show you around, and and he goes out gallivanting, gets wasted with this writer, and played by the wonderful Tom Burke. They go out, and he takes them to a burlesque, show and all this sort of stuff. But of course, he there's this wonderful moment where he sings this song in this pub, and it's really sad and sort of heartfelt. So I think it's the Rowan Tree. I think it's a Scottish folk song.
Okay.
But of course, and from there on, he neighbours see him talking to this Miss Harris, and there are rumours going around and all this sort of stuff, and he decides that he's going to do something about this park.
Right.
he comes to the conclusion that he can make a difference.
Yeah, like his final act will be.
Yeah. So I won't go into the details. I mean, if you've seen Ikaru, you know exactly where this is going.
Yeah.
It's not very far removed from Ikaru at all. It's which, although not my favourite Kurosawa movie,
it's a hell of a movie.
Is one hell of a movie, and this is it's a brilliant adaptation. It really is. I honestly, I was so in two minds whether I wanted to watch it or not. But the Bill Nye element brought me
sold
in. Really.
You. I mean, I must admit that's the main reason I was going to watch it. Was
He's
Bill Nye
so good at it? Yeah. This part could have almost been written for him if you didn't know any better. You'd think, oh, this was Bill Nye's complete part. He's wonderful. He even does this voice where it sounds like it's straining to get out. It's wonderful, and it's so British. It feels like one of those old sort of British movies of like the 50s or later, that looking back at the 50s, it has that sort of real sort of slice of 50s Britain, and how buttoned up we are, and it's a similar thing. I think I saw an interview where they were saying, I think all nations have this sort of certain people are buttoned up and they don't have that thing, but I think it is a very British and Japanese thing. It's a very stickler to the rules, and don't make waves, and just keep everything inside, don't bloody show any emotion, and I think it is a very British and Japanese thing, and this shows that it's beautiful movie, really, really beautiful, and I was so blown away by the adaptation. I honestly didn't think they would ever come anywhere near being as good as Ikaru, but I gotta say it's almost as good as Ikaru. It's really good. Nye is fantastic. Amy Lee Wood, who I'd seen in what's that? Sex Education. She's in Sex Education, and I've seen her in a couple of other bits and pieces. She's wonderful, and is this sort of vivacious girl who's getting a job at the Lions Tea shop, which is one of those sort of, being a person who likes the sort of Edwardian Victorian type stuff, that I know all about the Lions houses. By the 60s and 70s they were kind of gone, but she gets this job there, and it's and it's just really beautiful sort of 50s Britain, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. Highly recommend it to anybody. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody, because it's one of those. It's a real sort of character piece of someone who is he says it when he's talking to Miss Harris at one point. He says, all I ever wanted to be was a gentleman. And and that's what he became, but somewhere along the lines he lost himself. Somewhere along the lines he just got lost in it and didn't do any, and especially, I guess, his wife died, so he just stepped back, I guess, from his life and just carried on doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Bill Nye is just
he is superb. I mean, he's superb in pretty much anything. But I think when you combine it with a good script and good direction, and
it's a wonderful adaptation. So I completely highly recommend it. It's a wonderful movie.
Wow, there we go. I will definitely check that out now. I was tempted for Bill Nye alone, so
yeah.
Good to know. Well, I'm going to do something a little different. Because I don't normally do. I've done indie movies before, right? I have done indie movies before. So I watched Crow, which I was unaware of. Someone pointed out on Facebook, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. I'm a fan of every now and again a fan adaptation will come along, and you're like, hey, this was really good. I, for example, really enjoyed Predator: Dark Age. I thought it was good. So I thought, Crow, why not? Someone's made a Crow movie in 2022, and it's for free on YouTube. So I thought, I'll give it a go. And it's surprisingly good. I thought this was, low bar as it is, it's the best Crow sequel I have seen.
This must have been out when we did The Crow.
Yeah, it was. I was completely unaware of this film until this week. I'd never heard of this film at all.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden someone posted it. I was like, oh, that's a cool trailer. And then I went on YouTube and I was like, they've already released this film. It's already out. It's already on YouTube for free. So I thought I'd give it a go. And honestly, it is one of the certainly the best sequel to The Crow I have seen. I think for it's clearly a low-ish budget film. You can see that in its direction, I guess, to an extent. Although I would say this is very well directed, and it's reasonably well acted by pretty much everyone. There are some people in there where you're like, okay, that's kind of showing the lower budget kind of fan movie-esque kind of acting in some places. But the overall story I thought was really good. It was a solid Crow like story. I mean, it's based on Halloween night, and he's this guy in Detroit is basically left for dead in the trunk of a car, and his girlfriend has been murdered, and he's out for revenge, he's brought back. Obviously there are less sort of crow shots, I guess, because they probably didn't have a crow necessarily readily available. There is a bird towards the end, but
the pictures make it looks like a oh my god, black and white bird.
A magpie.
Magpie, thank you.
That's how it looked to me.
Don't find the word fucking magpie.
That's how it looked to me as well, although it does look kind of crow-like from certain angles, so I don't know if it's like a kind of crow or something. It's kind of an odd-looking bird. It's not quite a magpie, but it's not quite a crow either. But either way, it's a fan film. I can kind of forgive that. But I thought overall, I actually really liked this film for what it is. And I think it's a very solid fan movie. I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's for free on YouTube, so why on earth not? It's got a nice twist towards the end as well, which I wasn't expecting at the end. Quite liked that. I won't spoil
To
it.
be fair, it can't be any worse than some of the later Crow movies.
That's what I mean, and this is certainly the strongest Crow movie I've seen since The Crow. So.
Oh, okay, really? What?
It's better than City of Angels?
I like 2.
I don't.
Really?
No. Actually, do you know, I was learning about what 2 was meant to be the other day. The original version actually does sound way better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the original plan.
Yeah, it got fucked about with.
Yes.
But there
Weinstein,
was some
right?
nice ideas in 2 that I really like. I love the whole yellow pissiness of the the movie.
Yes, it's all it's meant to be New York, right? Isn't it all smoky and stuff? That's the idea.
It's from apparently the yellowness was from I think it was whether it was a director or whatever it was. He got mugged, and I think they beat him up. And when he was on the floor, he said he looked up and he said the light was really yellow, and he said it was really weird and beautiful. And he thought, I'd like to make a movie like that.
Right, fair enough.
Light. So if I remember rightly, that's what he said. So he did. That's why the movie has this weird yellow sheen to it.
Yeah, I wasn't such a fan of that, the second one, or any of the sequels. Really, I've watched most of them. They're not great.
They have their moments.
Yeah, I mean, this I thought was fun. I mean, I liked certainly the core actors in this are great. I think Justin Main, I think is his name. Who plays Dean in this? He's fantastic. He's very good at acting. Emotional. His emotions are all over his face the whole way through the film, which is probably the strongest, part of the movie. And I think because of the budget, it's not so over the top as you would expect a modern Crow movie to be. It's quite grounded, although there are supernatural elements in this film. It's much less of a martial artsy thing or like a massive gunfight thing. It feels more kind of street level, if that makes sense. Really enjoyed it. They made it different enough from the original, which was a problem I think a few of the sequels have had. In this, he's wearing basically, he's dressed up for Halloween, so he's just wearing Halloween face paint and stuff. It's kind of Crow-y like as the kind of, but not really. It works well. I genuinely enjoyed this. I thought it was a really fun revenge movie. I think it's one of the best Crow sequels, certainly the best Crow sequel I've seen so far. I know they're working on another one, so maybe.
Oh, I mean, they've been
forever
reboot forever. I mean, Jason Momoa was in the running for so fucking long. I mean, I think Keanu Reeves, was going to be in one.
Wasn't Skarsgård going to be last time I heard?
I think so.
I want to say he was, but I don't know.
They come in, they fall away.
They do.
I think the strongest one the one that got closest to being made was the one with Momoa.
Yeah, that makes sense because Momoa was huge at one point. Well, still is, I guess. So yeah, that's fair. But if you're looking for a Crow movie, it is on YouTube. It's just called Crow 2022. If you look it up, it'll come up. The full movie. It's a fan movie. It is really good for a fan. I'd be curious what you think of it. I think for a fan movie, it's one of the better fan films I've seen. And it did a really good job. It did a better job of capturing the spirit of the Crow than any of the sequels have done, in my opinion. I appreciate your love of the second one and your liking of the second one, at least. I mean,
I kind of have a soft spot for all of them, really. Even though they're not ever good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I will watch them.
I bought the series recently.
I have fond memories of the series, and I'm gonna leave those memories in the past.
See, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking, right, I
love Mark Dacascos as well.
Exactly.
He's great, and I've got fond memories of it.
The reason why I kept with that series because I love Mark Dacascos.
I actually looked for that series to see if I could find it on streaming a while ago, and when I couldn't find it, I thought to myself, that might be for the best. Because I've got fond memories of it, but I am sure it is cheesy as all hell.
They did some interesting things with that.
They did, because they had the snake and stuff and all of that stuff, right?
And bad guys
It was fun.
They,
I mean, they
a lot
did
more
what you
Shelley,
have to
like
do.
heaven sort of thing.
Yes. Well, they did what you have to do if you're making a series as opposed to a film. You need to make this last. And obviously Highlander was a very popular series and was responsible probably for this series, as well as the vampire one that I bring up every time I talk about Highlander, that really naff vampire show that I loved for a while, the police one when he works.
Nick Knight.
Yeah. What's it called? It's something Knight, isn't it?
Isn't it Nick Knight? No. Was that just the name of the character?
Yeah, that's the name of the character.
Forever Knight?
Forever Knight. Yes, Forever Knight. Rubbish, but brilliant. So it's one of those series, I think, that came off the back of Highlander being successful. It basically, he is Eric Draven, and it kind of combines the two, right? Because if I remember rightly, doesn't City of Angels end with him stuck on Earth forever? Basically, what happens here is that Eric Draven just hangs around.
Yeah,
he's like, okay, I'll just hang around now. And he
they made it more about sort of good and evil, didn't they, in the series? So it was
yes, and he ends up getting a job at a rock pub or something, cleaning up.
God
and stuff, but then he just he basically hangs out there, and then every week someone comes into the bar and needs help or something, and off he goes.
I was reminded of another
series.
Oh no,
the crow tells him where to go. The crow sends him messages and stuff, and he's I think the crow is like telling him people in need and stuff. Yeah.
I was reminded of another series that I used to watch. I think maybe slightly earlier than that. Renegade. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember Renegade. Yeah.
Big dude on a motorbike riding around.
Now that is available on some street. I think that might be on Prime.
Really?
It's somewhere because I came across it not so long ago.
If it's on Prime, I might give that a go.
I was tempted because I have fond memories of that show as well. Oh, I love NAF TV. But yes, Stairway to Heaven, that's the name of it. Crow Stairway to Heaven is a series I have periodically been tempted to pick up, but I feel like I might regret it if I do.
That's what I didn't pick it up in the end. I was like, do I buy this? I thought, is it gonna be? Am I gonna regret it?
I think there is a high possibility. Yeah, my memory of it is positive, and I'll leave it there. Maybe one day, if it comes to a streaming thing, if it turns up on Amazon Prime tonight, I'll watch it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I'm just not sure I'm gonna pay for it. But anyway, yes, Crow 2022. Just I wanted to give it a quick shout out, really, because I was really impressed with it. It's good. Okay. Do you want to talk about Mad God?
Yeah.
Now, should we do that? Because we've both watched Mad God now. Yeah. It was a film that's been on my list for a while, and you said you were going to watch it, and I was like, oh, okay, great. Because Phil Tippett's been like making this since like RoboCop 2 or something. He's been doing this forever.
Yeah, he was making it during RoboCop 2, and I think he was disillusioned with it. I think with his experiences,
it's Jurassic Park, wasn't it?
Jurassic Park and stuff like that. I think he got a bit.
He was like, stop motion's dead. Forget it.
So I think he shelved it for a while, and I think somebody was in his offices or something, and they found the sort of film and were looking at it, and was like, why don't you take this back up?
This is actually kind of brilliant.
So he did, and they got GoFundMe for it, and he had loads of people that didn't really have experience of working with stop motion, but they came and helped him, and he taught them, and you get this movie,
which is beautiful in a gross way.
It is quite possibly the grossest, most beautiful movie I've ever seen.
That's basically, that was exactly my takeaway when I watched it, was like, this is beautiful and gross.
I mean, there were literal people made of shit.
Yes.
In it.
Yes.
There were.
It has.
It's like a race of zombies that are basically made of shit.
Yeah. This film has some of the smoothest animation I have ever seen in stop motion. Yep. It's amazing. Yeah. I was surprised by real people turning up in the movie.
Oh man, fucking Alex Cox turns up and is the last man. It's like, well, that's fucking Alex Cox.
Yeah.
I mean, it completely makes sense that Alex Cox would turn up in this movie.
Yeah.
Because Alex Cox is such a sort of a character. I mean, he's, I love Alex Cox's movies, and I miss his movie drone. I wish they would bring the movie drone back.
Yeah.
But I was so surprised because I didn't look up who was in it at all.
No, me either.
I presumed there wasn't going to be anybody in it. You know
Same.
what I mean?
I assumed that it was going to be an entirely silent stop motion movie with no actors.
And there's no real dialogue. It's just
and in fact, one of the big pros I was going to say on this movie is this is a masterclass in visual storytelling.
Oh yeah,
like there is no need for dialogue.
I mean, you will sit there at times and go, "What the fuck now?"
Yes.
What's going on there?
But I think very intentionally.
Yes. Yeah. Because I mean, how do you explain? So basically, you get this character called the Assassin.
Yes.
Who is lowered in like a diving bell sort of thing.
Yeah, and he basically goes into like hell world.
And it's sort of like it's sort of like a different dimension, and he goes through sort of lower levels of it, which are like you get like wrecked sort of landscape, and then you get to another one which is full of statues. Which, did you notice amongst the statues there were things like the Harryhausen?
I did notice a couple, yeah.
Cyclops, and there was a RoboCop and an Ed 209, and there was all these like little things like that's that and that was really good. And then it goes past that, and then there's this like weird sort of pillars and things, and then it goes into this. I mean, I could begin to describe the sheer madness of this.
It's
realm of weird creatures running around, and creatures, like it's like a sort of a weird factory where you get people that are being electrocuted, who are then defecating into a funnel, and then that's going into the mouth of another creature, and then it's coming out somewhere else, and then it's being made into people.
Yeah.
Who are running around stacking what looks like the pillars from 2001.
Yes. Yeah.
and it's as crazy as it sounds.
It is. It's hard to compare this to anything.
Yeah.
I would say early on I was getting I don't know if you've ever watched the animation Street of Crocodiles.
Yes.
It was giving me that kind of vibe.
That's the only thing you can kind of compare it
to. Did
Did
you think the same? I'm glad you thought that, because that was my fault. Was like the only thing I can really compare this to is Street of Crocodiles, which is this weird short movie. It's British, I think. If you've never watched it, watch it. It's really cool. I watched that years ago with Janie, and we just found it randomly. We were like, wow, this is amazing. Like, what is this? And it kind of has that vibe for a little bit, and then but it does it in its very own way, and it gets really, really weird, really gross. But despite all that, it is gorgeous to look at. Particularly that ending, which I won't ruin.
No,
is gorgeous.
I mean, at times it just feels like stream of consciousness, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it's like a fever
dream
dream
and pure nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. There's so many, and there are bits where because it sort of chops and changes who you're following.
Yeah,
there's a bit with the alchemist,
and
I don't know about you, but when there's this where you follow him, like he tortures some giant shovelers, and then he goes into his base and he
grinds up a child.
He feeds he feeds these like weird pets, and then releases this bigger spider-like pet. And there's this bit where he's just like dusting and stacking books and things, and
just going about his daily.
And I was watching that, and I'd completely forgotten about the other characters.
Yeah. And
then the other characters turn up, and you're like, okay, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, almost. It almost goes into like into like weird small anthology things at points where it's kind of like, I'm gonna go on this tangent now and then get back to the narrative and like, oh, okay, right, that's how that,
and there's truly terrifying imagery with what happens to the assassin.
Oh Jesus, the bit when he's on the table and stuff, it's like, whoa.
And I mean, what he produces eventually from that, you're like, okay, I have no idea why, but
but fine,
just go with it.
I think if you got to that part of the movie, you're like, okay, whatever, you've either quit or you're still watching at that point.
And the bit where you've got the like the plague doctor priest,
yes,
guy, who's got the thing, and it's just him walking along this corridor with his tattered robes billowing around him. It's what a vision that is.
It's and I cannot stress enough how great the stop motion is in this film.
Yeah,
it is amazingly fluid to the point that when they introduce real people, for some moments I was like, is that a real person or is that still animated? Because the animation was so smooth when it was animated that I was like, oh wait, is that a real person now? Okay.
When the doctor and the nurse turn up,
it's like that moment.
Oh no, they are real.
Yes, I did exactly the same.
No, they are. Yep. I mean, when Alex Cox turns up, it's like,
obviously,
that's Alex Cox.
Yeah.
Who's got these amazing nails, and the witches under the table sewing that. It's like, what imagery! It's such amazing imagery. It's just ugly and beautiful in the same.
I'm so glad you've had exactly the reaction that I had watching this movie. I think we both simultaneously had the same thoughts, even down to Street of Crocodiles, which is great.
Yes,
we both literally had the same thought there. That's great. Bizarre movie.
Totally wanted to have a bath afterwards. I mean,
oh yeah, it was gross. You feel like you're covered in shit and tetanus by the end of this movie.
Yes.
But I say that with love because I loved this movie. I have really enjoyed watching it.
It's ludicrous to say, but it's in a good way.
Yes.
Good way.
It's very rusty and very shitty.
I was thinking, who do you sort of recommend this to? Because
people like you and me.
My wife watched. I showed the trailer to my wife, and my wife was like, "Yeah, I'm not touching that."
I honestly, I would recommend it to very select friends.
Yes,
that I know would appreciate it. I certainly cannot recommend this to everyone
interested in stop motion.
Oh, yeah, from an artistic perspective, I think you would. I would challenge anyone that watches this and is like, "Well, that's badly made." Like, I would die on that hill.
Anybody who says that is just needs punching. I mean, that would be ridiculous.
But content-wise, I would struggle to recommend this to everyone.
Yeah,
I would say, like you've just done with your wife, watch the trailer.
Yeah.
And if the trailer interests you, it's probably for you. If you're like, that looks weird and gross, then you're good. Don't do it.
And it is weird and gross.
It is weird and gross. That's kind of the point. But what a movie. I was so impressed by this.
Little details like that. I love the way that the assassin, every sort of floor he goes down, the map he has disintegrates.
Yeah, it disintegrates every time he opens it as well.
Falls away.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is such a neat idea. I love it.
It's really great. Oh my God. Imagine, Phil Tippett getting depressed during Jurassic Park and thinking like, stop motion's dead, and almost not making this masterpiece. Like, just ditching it and just being like, forget it. Throw it in the bin. It's like, dude, this is incredible. Like, I'm so glad this exists.
Yeah,
I really am. Like, and I would watch this again in a heartbeat. Do you know what I would?
I'm definitely going to watch it again. It needs to be watched again.
It does. And do you know what? Like, the sound is great in this movie, and the soundtrack's great in this movie. But I would love.
The music's fantastic.
The music's fantastic, but I would also love at some point just to have this movie on with music. Different music, just music playing with this on silently in the background, and just like, it feels like the kind of stuff that if I owned a club, I would have this
Yeah,
playing on repeat,
yeah,
just on the screen. Do you know, like the Keller used to do and stuff?
Funnily enough, I've been to clubs where they've had
the beer Keller used to do it.
Playing.
Yes. Oh yeah. Didn't definitely some of the clubs on Stokes Croft used to do that.
Yeah.
And the Keller did that for a while. They did the stuff.
Yeah, I think this would be perfect for that.
It would, yeah, totally.
You know,
it's exactly that kind of thing.
Very sort of metal or gothic club it'd have to be. I don't imagine it would work terribly well with like
this is going back to you're right, going back to a film we covered this year, Tetsuo. This is a perfect double bill with Tetsuo.
Yeah.
Like you could totally watch this alongside Tetsuo. That's a great double bill.
I'm sadly I do not remember the name of the thing. But there's a on YouTube at the moment there's a stop motion, I think it's a Japanese one, and it's about like a wooden guy who comes for revenge against this sort of who looks like a bureaucrat, and it's just this big fight scene with wooden puppets.
Sounds
and it's
amazing.
Beautiful. I wish I remembered what it was called, but it's really fucking good. I think maybe just look up stop motion samurai or something, because I cannot remember what it's called. But that was I saw that recently, and it's like wow. And also yesterday, have you seen the test footage or the test trailer for Small Soldiers?
No.
There's a new sort of version of Small Soldiers that somebody's trying to get made.
Hidari, I think, is the name of the...
Sorry, what's it called?
Hidari?
Oh, it might be that.
Hidari. I've just Googled it, and that's what's coming up. Apparently, it is... Yeah, it's a stop motion. There's actually, I think that's the pilot film for a thing that might actually become a full
that makes
movie.
sense.
There's a Kickstarter up for it. I will check that out later. Yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
I've completely forgot what I was saying now.
Excellent. We are that age now. We need to say things when they come into our head, because otherwise...
Damn.
I don't know. We were talking about this stop motion samurai movie.
Oh no, the Small Soldiers.
Oh, Small Soldiers test footage. Yeah.
So there's a trailer for like what looks like a new version of Small Soldiers, which I thought it was just nice as a trailer itself. I just thought it was a really again, it looks stop motion, and it's
There's a film I've never watched again.
Small Soldiers.
I watched it in the cinema. I've never watched it since.
I have.
I remember it being quite charming.
A year or so ago. Yeah, it's still fun.
Yeah.
It's still. You know,
does the animation hold up? Because I always remember the animation being really impressive in that.
Yeah,
film.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it holds up pretty well. Yeah,
that was one of those like
great figures as well.
They were the conceit with Small Soldiers is that the GI Joes are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And the Gorgonites, is it the monsters? They turn out to be the good guys. Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, just peace-loving creatures.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of continued that, but this is called, I think, is it The Fight for the Necron or something it's called?
So is this a new film coming out?
Well, no, I think it's proof of concept.
Okay. I'd watch another Small Soldiers if it came out, and it was stop motion and done properly, you know?
Yeah.
Down with that.
It's a nice trailer anyway. But, yeah, going back to my God, I mean, yeah, Phil Tippett's what a fucking genius. I mean...
yeah, absolutely. I mean... That the name alone sold it for me.
Yeah,
I was gonna watch. It's one of those movies. I was gonna watch it at some point. It's been on Shudder for a while, and I was thinking the next time I'm over at Shudder, I'm gonna jump on it.
And I think the guy who did the music has basically done music for Alex Cox movies again, which says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So, yeah, it's. Well, I mean, I would highly recommend it. But yeah, only to people who you know have a genuine interest in weird cinema or stop motion, or just want to be challenged. I guess you could say. I just say watch the trailer. Yeah. If you like the trailer, give it a go because it's amazing. Yeah, it's. But you will need a shower afterwards. Yeah. I mean, there's just such wonderful images. I mean, there's the shot of the second assassin. He's driving this sort of German Jeep thing. And there's this shot of him just driving along, and in the distance you can see nuclear explosions and tornadoes.
Yeah.
I was like, what a fucking image! It's just, I sort of have no idea how they did that.
No.
It's just stunning. It really
It
is.
really is. It is a superb film.
Yeah.
Like you said, don't know who to recommend it to, but I do recommend it. So
yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. Just certain friends that you could know could deal with it. I guess is a weird way of saying.
Exactly that. Yeah.
I suppose Lynch fans maybe.
Oh, definitely Lynch fans. Yeah. I think you're right. Actually, that's a solid shout.
Because there is a bit where that has a very Eraserhead feel to it as well.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Which is like, and I did, there's a bit where quite early on when what I guess is the Mad God who is speaking, and it's just baby talk.
Yeah.
I don't know whether my brain was just translating it, but did it sound like he said forever and ever at one point?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure if there was anything to it. Or
yeah,
whether
that's exactly what I think my brain's trying to make stuff out of it.
What's is it pareidolia? That's the visual version. Is there an audio? I guess there's an audio.
Oh yeah, there's definitely an audio version.
Yeah, so maybe it's just that brain
I think it is. I think my brain was just trying to make words out of it, but I don't think it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
I mean, that's just again what an image of just screens with just eyes and mouth and
screaming child.
Yeah,
or babble anyway. Yeah.
Babble. Yeah.
Amazing. So you've watched another film.
I have.
Do you want to talk about?
I also
Nimona?
watched Nimona. So I didn't want to watch this.
I am offended by the art style. But I'm sure that's not necessarily is not to say it's a bad film. It's just
I didn't want to watch this because the person who made this was the showrunner for that awful She-Ra show.
Have I watched that?
I started it and it was not for me.
I don't think I've even seen the trailer.
Generous and say it wasn't for me, so I
Did that come out after the He-Man?
No, before.
Oh, I don't think I even knew about this. Okay, yeah, I've not seen it anyway.
It's an exercise in box ticking. That's what it is. It's not good. It's got real rabid fans. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
but it's its own thing, and it certainly is not She-Ra. And I'm not saying that She-Ra was a great cartoon anyway.
The masterpiece that was She-Ra should never be sullied. Yeah.
She-Ra had its fans. I mean, I remember watching. I
remember watching the crossovers.
Yes,
I watched the He-Man She-Ra movie. Was it there a couple of movies?
Actually, I quite like Bo.
Yeah,
because he looked like Errol Flynn, but Clownfish TV. Kiki Sparkles is a huge She-Ra fan, and I remember watching a few of times where she went off on rants about this She-Ra reboot.
Okay, I don't think I even knew this existed.
It is. It's.
I feel like you might have mentioned it when we were complaining about how bad that He-Man show was.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't want to watch it. I was like, oh god, I'm not touching it. So I wasn't really interested. And then my wife came home the other day and she said, oh, my brother's just seen this movie and he really liked it. And I was like, okay. And he said, it's this. And I went, oh. And she went, what? I'm like, okay, if you want to watch it, I'll give it a go. So I ended up watching it with my wife. And so basically it's about it's set in a world which is it's like a retro future world where they have knights, but they also have flying cars and technology and all that sort of stuff. And in the past, there was some great big monster that sort of terrorized the towns.
Mm-hmm.
And this hero, I think her name's Gloriana or Gloriafic or something, she stepped up and slayed this beast. And now there's this big statue of her in this city, and it's a walled city, and they have these knights that are all there in her honor. And our main character, well, I guess there's two main characters, but one of our main characters is Ballastar Boldheart, who is a a commoner who has been given the right to train to be a knight, much to the chagrin of tradition and all that sort of stuff. And then you have this girl called Nimona, who is a shapeshifter.
Right.
Basically, not really spoiling it, but when he's being knighted, Balthazar kills the queen.
Right.
And obviously he didn't do it. He was set up. But he then basically goes on the run, trying to prove his innocence. And Nimona turns up at his hiding place and says, "I want to be your sidekick. You're evil. I want to come and smash shit up and be metal and just generally wreck the joint and be your sidekick." And
okay,
obviously, first of all, he's like, I'm innocent. I'm not evil. So what then goes on is they go through, they try to prove his innocence, and one of the other knights, Sir Goldloin, is sort of his boyfriend, and even he sort of kind of he turns on him to the degree, because he thinks that he killed the queen. So even though he loves him, and it's a sort of I know how he thinks, so I'm going to track him down and all that sort of stuff. And the voice cast is brilliant. So you've got Chloe Grace Moretz as Nimona, Riz Ahmed as Boldheart, and you've got Francis Conroy as the director. So you've got really good. I actually, believe it or not, quite like the style of art.
I am saying it purely from a single thumbnail that I used for this show. Things in motion are very different. I could really like it.
Motion is where it's at. So Nimona changes between different animals, and so she becomes a rhino and a cat, and it's the smoothness of the animal movements are really good. I really like that. I liked the cast. I did like the animation in the end.
There's a butt coming on the end of this. I can feel it.
Well, the thing is this. It's written by a trans man,
right?
And that's again. I'm going to sound like I'm being a twat here. That's not my issue. My issue is it's clearly this whole show is an allegory for being different and being trans.
Yeah, that I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
or right, a lot of things are.
I think because of my experience with the She-Ra thing, which wasn't about the characters, it was more about oh, look at me and all that sort of stuff. This actually wasn't that. I will say,
you were coloured by your hatred of the what they did.
It actually did a very good job of showing how different just doesn't mean fucking evil. It's not bad to be different. I think at times it did sort of push it into what felt like a little bit almost preachy, but not. It never quite got there, thankfully.
So you'd say this is a well, I guess it's different because She-Ra, from the sound of it, they changed what She-Ra was to fit this narrative and to tell the story they wanted to tell rather than tell a She-Ra story. But that aside, would you say this is a better written story than the She-Ra one anyway? Like in terms of the what they're trying to, the message they're trying to get across, is it better delivered here?
Yes.
Well, that's good.
A graphic novel, which I believe is the story's slightly different in the graphic novel. I think the graphic novel is slightly more. Some people have said hard hitting. I don't know what myself. I've not read the graphic novel.
Right.
I actually, I guess, despite myself, I really enjoyed this. I think it's like I said, the voice cast is really good. The animation is really good, and overall, it was actually fun. Chloe. Grace Moretz as Nimona it puts such like joy into this character of who's trying to sort of be this sort of this force of sort of evil, if you like, but not. She just wants to be. She just wants to be who she is. And there are times where the Knight character says, "Can't you just be you?" And she's like, "I don't understand the question." It's like, what are you talking about? I am me. This is who I am. And it was done really well. I would say I wouldn't let younger kids watch this.
Okay.
I don't know what sort of cutoff I would say, but I think younger kids, maybe not. But certainly, teens and older, I think would find this really.
Well, teens and older is good. Kind of, that's like anime territory, isn't it? It's
yeah.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's a PG, so
okay.
It's like discretion, isn't it? It's one of those sort of up to the parents sort of things. I think really, which it should be. But I actually really enjoyed it. I actually thought it was fun. It was overall just well done. Well, an interesting cartoon. It was my wife really loved it. I mean, she full on teared up at one part, which actually was a very moving part. I will say, even I came quite close. But there is a beautiful moment which I am not going to fucking spoil.
Okay.
And it really was a genuinely beautiful moment. There's a sort of really cool kaiju moment that looks really good. I really.
Now you're piquing my interest.
So yeah, I would recommend it to
I'll give it a go.
A pretty good cartoon, actually. No, it's not bad at all.
Cool. Wow, that's it. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I just realised we've run out of films.
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of the show again. Glenda Jackson has died. I think she was 87, wonderful actress and turned politician, who retired from acting for a long time, and she came back, and she was in this really good sort of horror show, sort of more like a ghostly sort of thing than I would say a horror, but it was great, and she could still really act. I mean, I have such memories of being a kid and watching her as Queen Elizabeth I. Tremendous actress. Really, sorely missed. Alan Arkin, again 89. Again, wonderful actor, and I didn't know he was a singer. Apparently, he was in a band before he was an actor. He did a version of the Banana Boat song.
Oh, okay.
In the 50s, which did not know that at all. But he was in such wonderful. I mean, Catch-22. I loved him in The Rocketeer.
Yeah, I love The Rocketeer.
Glengarry Young Ross. Little Miss Sunshine. He's wonderful in Little Miss Sunshine. And just recently, I watched. I don't know whether have you seen the Kominsky Method?
No, I've not.
I think it's a Netflix show. It's Michael Douglas plays an acting teacher,
right?
And it's sort of, again, it's like the sort of we were discussing earlier on. It's a grumpy old dude teaching acting, and Alan Arkin is like his best friend in it. I think he's his manager as well. I think. Really good, really fun, and he's wonderful in it. So yeah, again, wonderful actor. And on to one that was one of those ones that was up in the air, but they finally found his remains. Julian Sands.
Yeah.
65. Went hiking a number of months back and just disappeared. They've now found the remains. They do not know. I don't think they've released what he died of.
I mean, I've really fond memeries of Julian Sands, actually.
I love Julian Sands.
Yeah. I mean, I even like Warlock and stuff.
Warlock, I fucking love Warlock.
Me too.
It's on the list of movies that we're going to do at some point.
Excellent. I'm all for doing Warlock.
I like Warlock 2 as well.
Yeah, me too.
Warlock 3 they recast, which was just bad. I don't consider Warlock 3 the same person. I mean, not sure he's the same Warlock in 2, to be honest, but he might as well be. I loved him in Gothic, where he played not Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, I should say. And he's in one of my favourite vampire movies, which is a very low-key vampire movie called Tale of a Vampire, which came out, I think, 1989, I think it came out.
Yeah. He's in, isn't he in Arachnophobia as well?
Yep, he's in Arachnophobia. He was in Leaving Las Vegas.
Yes, of course, yeah.
He was
just
a brilliant actor. And I mean,
Smallville? I want to say he turned up in Smallville at some point.
I think he might have been in something like that.
Yeah, I've not actually watched much Smallville. But...
He appeared in a lot of those sort of shows. He turned up in, and there was basically when I saw him in Gothic, and then I saw him in Tale of a Vampire and stuff, and I wanted my hair like his.
Right.
So I was going to dye it blonde. And then I said to my mum, I want my hair like him. And my mum said, why would you want your hair like him? He's losing it. He's got a widow's peak. It's like you have to have your head shaved. I'm like, okay, maybe not then.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
I absolutely adored Julian Sands. He's one of those sort of just actors that when he turned up, you knew he was going to, because he turned up in a lot of very shit movies.
Oh, yeah.
But you knew he was going to do
he's going to do his best.
His best,
yes,
and I mean, he in Leaving Las Vegas, he's got that awful Russian accent.
Yeah.
But he's actually really frightening in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
real shame.
Real, wonderful actor.
I'm glad to hear that Warlock's on the list for some point there.
Oh yeah, we are definitely.
It's good news. Is there anything else? Or speaking of what we're going to do next, do you have any thoughts?
So, I was thinking of one movie, but I was reminded, or I was looking at something earlier on, and I was reminded this year is the 50th anniversary of The Wicker Man.
Is it?
And I think the end of this month, for one day, they're putting it in cinemas.
I will watch it in the cinema if it comes back. I think I've already seen it in the cinema. I'm sure I saw that in the Watershed.
I have not seen it in the cinema. Sadly.
I could be wrong. It's one of my favourite films of all time, so I'm 100% up for The Wicker Man.
Did you want to do it now, or do you want to wait till Halloween?
That is up to you.
Because I do have some thoughts on Halloween.
Okay.
Later.
Let's decide off air, because otherwise we're gonna have a bit of a discussion here.
Yeah.
Let's decide in a moment when we finish, and we'll be back next week with a film. It might be The Wicker Man. Either way, we're doing The Wicker Man this year. Sorry.
I thought I would know what we're doing for Christmas.
So we will be back with a movie next week. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we will catch you next time.